Hi friends, I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Monday Micro Monday. Enough watching me. I can't fly freestyle anymore, apparently, with 5-inch rigs. Although that spot was like a swamp, so it was like all the way unrecoverable. So I was being like extra careful. But yeah, good lord, you don't fly 5-inch for a while and you really kind of lose your Buried Alive was first in the chat. Maybe I had to turn the computer off and on and do a little dance to get the live streaming stuff to work as it does. Mr. Blue Sky, Titan, Travis Easterday, Eric Mo, Freelojo, Titan again, Kevin Sumner, Danzel the Terrible, Northern Tier, Dayron, Chris Long, B-Man, Frank Nicholas, Kevin Sumner, Eric Mo, Mafi, Dayron again, Kevin Sumner again, Danzel the Terrible, Jason Saltzman, Adam C, Brandon's Baked Beans, Thurberg, Fun Pervault. What's up, friends? If you want to talk directly to me, all you gotta do is type CiottiFPV. When you type it and you spell it right, it'll light up an orange, and I read those comments. The other comments I don't read. We're gonna be let the pain continue. We're gonna be testing 3 different 75mm rigs tonight. I have no idea why. I don't like the way any of them fly inside the house. But I put this one together last night. So this is the drivetrain that was just in the Fractal 65 frame that we tested last week. And before I put this drivetrain into the Fractal 75 frame, I thought, hey, I got a Modula 7 V4 frame sitting around. I'll put it in there. This is the T-Motor AIO. I think it's blown up. We're going to talk about it later, but I think that this... I think that either it blew up or I blew it up when the motors were all gummed up. One of the most stressful things you can do to a... thank you, Freelojo. I'll read your comment in a second. One of the most stressful things you can do to an ESC, or the ESC MOSFETs, is to tell it to send power to motors that are jammed. And when we had this T-Motor AIO on that Fractal 65, all 4 motors were jammed. They were all gummed up from the flux paste. And I kept screwing around on the stream. Like, I kept putting power to them and arming it and doing turtle mode. And so, yeah, I hope that I hurt this T-Motor AIO. Because, I don't know, of all the AIOs that we have available to us, this T-Motor AIO is the only one that's made by a company that is known to make good quality electronics. That being said, T-Motor doesn't make their own electronics. They have other companies make them. But yeah, T-Motor's electronics, at least T-Motor's more expensive line of electronics, are almost certainly made by Acon. And those are bulletproof. T-Motor's less expensive electronics, I don't know who those are made by. At some point, I'd heard that they're made by iFlight, but I did not hear that from any sort of a... That might have just been like a Facebook comment, so that means nothing. Yeah, their less expensive components are almost certainly not made by Acon, because they're really cheap. This AIO, I have no idea. Maybe it's made by Acon, maybe it's not. Maybe it's garbage, I don't know, but, T-Motor is, of the companies making AIOs, T-Motor is the one that has the best reputation, so I hope that I am the reason that this AIO is, one of the ESC on this AIO is shitting the bed. I spent a bunch of time today trying to get this thing to stop dropping an arm, and nothing works. I went from 48K to 24K on the PWM. I moved the startup power all the way down and all the way up. I backed the tune off. I made the tune more aggressive. I added filtering. I removed filtering. I added thrust linear. I think that's all I did. And none of those things had a meaningful impact on this thing dropping arms when you push it really hard. What's really weird is it doesn't seem to drop the same arm every time, but I could be wrong about that. It's really hard to tell because it happens really fast. But regardless, it's falling out of the air. It's desyncing. It might be a desync. It could just be the motor. The last test that we're going to do is put a more powerful set of motors on this rig. We're going to do that tonight. Because it could just be saturating these motors all the way and just running out of power. I switched this thing. I took the 702s off because 702s are nowhere near enough motor for a 1.6 inch prop, 40 millimeter prop. And I put these 0603s on, the 0603 26,000 kV motors. And it's shockingly good with these, but these 0603s do not have quite the stator volume of the 0802s, and the 0802s I really like on this setup. I think that's why I put this together, was to kind of like myth bust the smallest motor possible to get you half decent performance out of 1.6 inch props. So yeah, we're gonna fly little, medium, and big tonight. 0603 26,000, 0802 27,000, 1002 23,500. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Now that I think about it, there's a chance that this thing drops an arm as well. So here's what's driving me nuts about this. It's dropping, if it's not dropping the same arm every time, 24.2 grams, then that means it's probably not an ESC problem unless 2 of the channels in the ESC are shitting the bed, which would surprise me. 24.0. What? Wait, what? 24.0. What? What? 24.2. This has a little tiny zip tie on it, and it does have a slightly heavier antenna. But these 0603 motors are supposed to be significantly lighter than the 0802s. This also has the T-motor AIO on it, which is heavier than the Modulus 6 AIO. Wow. Okay, that's kind of annoying. I had assumed that this was going to be at least a full gram lighter, but it's 0.2 of a gram heavier than the 0802 rig, because the T-motor AIO is heavier, and it's got a heavier antenna, and it's got a tiny little zip tie on it. That's kind of crazy. Other than that, they're identical. Well, no. This also has a slightly lighter weight camera in it. I'll be damned. And then Fatty over here on the 1002s is coming in at 26.4 grams. But good lord, these motors make some effing power. So, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with this, but I'm going to take these 1002s off of here, and I'm going to put them on here. That's kind of annoying. Do I have another set of... I could take a set of betaflight 1102 18,000s and put them on here. I don't necessarily love the idea of... Oh, wait, no, I'll just... Yeah, no, I won't take motors off of anything. I'll just take the canopy and AIO out of this frame and take the canopy and AIO out of this frame and put it in here. Removing motors is 12 screws. Removing an AIO and a canopy is 4 screws. So it always makes more sense to it's quicker to remove the canopy and the AIO when you're doing testing like this. But sometimes I forget that. So yeah, that's what we'll do. And we'll see. That'll be a nice little myth-busting session. What I'm worried about is that that'll actually be pretty telling, because the main reason that I think I hurt this T-motor AIO is that even on the 65 millimeter build, which is like low power, you know, those little 702s and those little tiny props are going to pull a lot less hard on the ESC. Even on that rig, it was dropping an arm like this. It was doing this. It was exhibiting the same behavior. But was it doing it worse? It should have been. If the ESC was hurt, then on that rig it should have been doing it less. And on this rig, it should be... I just have to swap it onto the big motors. If I put this T-motor AIO onto this frame with these big motors, if the ESC is shot, it's going to do that shit constantly. It's going to do it worse than what it's in right now. So, yeah, I'm not going to think through this. I need to just... do the Ken Herron's in the house. What's up, Ken? Hey, let me get caught up on chat so I can get to these awesome super chats from you beautiful people. B-Man says, yo. Kevin Sumner says, sold the Fractal 65 frame yet? If not, I'll take it off your hands. It's all yours, Kevin. Where's it at? Here it is. Yep. And there's a bunch of ducts with it here too. Let me write your name down on there. Kevin Sumner. If this T-Motor AIO is dead, do you guys want to, should we test another one? I kind of feel like I need to test another one because I have this AIO on Joshua's shopping list in the high quality build. So, yeah. Brandon Woodford says, T-Motor AIO failed? I think so. Maybe. Hopefully not, but maybe. Stop it, YouTube. Veritas User says, there's always a reason software just hasn't matured over the last 30 years. Then again, neither have we, thank God. Tuner Taxi says, what's up? Tuner Taxi flew at a spot that might as well be, like, specifically designed for me. It's like, it's a spot that's just set up exactly the way I would dream of a spot being set up. Frank Douglas says, there's always a reason, you just haven't figured it out yet. That is the way. Adam C says, I'm here too. Mothy says, have you built a 75mm Avatar yet? No. What is that? What's a 75mm Avatar? Is that a 75mm rig with... What's Avatar even? Other than being a movie. Avada, you mean? 75mm Avada? As in 75mm rig with the O3 system on it? I have not. No, I can't afford the O3 system. It's just an unbelievable amount of money. Freeload Joe with a $7.10 super chat. He says 710 at 710. There you guys go. Jason says, thank you, brother. Very cool of you. Jason says, you know where to get enameled copper wire and what gauge to replace that ceramic ELRS antenna? I broke one off. Jason, I just use old FR Sky RXSR antennas. I mean, you can just use a piece of 30 gauge wire. You don't need to do anything fancy. But if you have like old FR Sky stuff floating around... FR Sky has been on 2.4 gigahertz forever, and that's what ELRS is on. So if you've got old FR Sky floating around, those antennas are specifically tuned for 2.4. So take those antennas and cut the silver end pieces off, the active elements, and then just solder the active elements right onto one of those 4 ELRS pads, and it'll work better than the ceramic antenna, unbelievably. CMYK says, yo, dude. Riot9 says, Band-Aid of the day is... This is actually on my middle finger. I cut myself on the on my chef's knife last night. It actually could have been really nasty. But this is the little 3-eyed aliens from Toy Story. 661 says, you gotta try bi-blades on the 1002 motors. I have a 75mm with 1002 22,000s, and it's much better on bi-blades 1610 GemFans. I've had the opposite experience, 661. I had these 1002s, so these are even higher kV than yours. These are 23,500. I had these on bi-blades for a bunch of batteries, and then when I moved them to these new, really low pitch, really lightweight GemFan tri-blades, I actually got more thrust, and it... on every other Tiny Whoop, I've preferred the bi-blades, but it might just be because of the extra thrust. I really dug these. I switched back to bi-blades, and then I switched back to these tri-blades, and I really like it on these tris better. These are the brand new GemFan 1608, I believe they are. Very low pitch, very lightweight tri-blades, and they're awesome. The quad blades are still way too much, but yeah, I really dig these new tris. The only place you can get them right now, I think, is Pyrodrone, but they're worth it, especially on 1002s. Ken Heron with a $5 super chat. He says, I threw my 5-inch into the dryer and now I have a Tiny Whoop. That's rough, man. 5-inch rigs are much more expensive than Tiny Whoops. I hope your dryer gave you change. Jesus. Denzel the Terrible says, the wave is looking good. The ladies must swoon. The lady certainly does swoon. Ryan9 says, one more try. Did you really flog that poor thing with stuck/sticky motors, T-Motor ESC? I mean, I didn't flog it, but I was trying to troubleshoot it. And, like, the way that the motors were spinning slowly, I've had, like, software-based ESC problems that have done that. And that's why I kind of kept putting power to the motors, because I thought that it might have been a software thing going on. it might have just taken me a little bit too long to realize that there was just shit on the bottom of the. It was a physical blockage, basically. So yeah, we'll see. I have a feeling I heard it, but I don't know. It could totally be. These 603s are still a very small motor, and 26,000 kV is asking a lot. These 1002s make much more sense for this size, so yeah, we'll see. We'll have the answer by the end of the stream, maybe. EVAPPV is in the house. Yeah, getting an 03 air unit for my next build. Won't be getting the goggles anytime remotely soon unless I win the lottery. Yeah, it's an interesting idea to get the 03 stuff and then run it on the on the 02 goggles, but I feel like I keep hearing like real pain in the ass things, like you have to rebind it every single time between air units, and that just sounds like a real dick in the face to me. I don't know. I'm waiting. Felix Torres says, any thoughts on the Quadmula F3 frame? I just found out about. I mean, I've known about Quadmula for a while, but I was just looking at one of their frames on yesterday's live stream, actually, and I was pretty impressed by the little collars. Some of the things they do seem kind of nice. I don't know that specific frame, but nowadays, we've really gotten good at frames at this point. So most frames that are going to come out now at this point, and you could say this over the last like year or two, are going to be really, really, really good. It's going to be rare that a frame comes out that sucks at this point, because it's just easy. Like, most of the frames are really good, so most people are just going to copy the existing frame, so they're copying something that's good already. So yeah, frame design has come a long way. So yeah, I'll bet you it's really, really good. Buried Alive says, soldering motor wires to lengthen them, does it work, and what to beware of? It does work. It's super sketchy though. Barry, if it's like 30 gauge motor wires, yeah, if it's anything bigger than 30 gauge though, just use race wires. Use race wires or race wire LEDs, and then you can have, the motor can have a short little motor lead on it, and then that hooks up to the race wire. And then on the other side of the race wire, you could run whatever the hell 30 gauge, or not 30 gauge, whatever the hell wire length you need. So yeah, the days of, other than tiny whoops, the days of needing to lengthen motor wires, in my opinion, are over, because race wires and race wire LEDs are so good. So yeah. But if you have to do it, it's fine. You know, you're going to use the same gauge wire as what's coming out of the motor. And so just make sure that, you know, you get a good connection between them. You get a good little blob of solder there, put some shrink wrap over it. But better solution is to use LED race wires. And they look cool. Doom Rider's in the house too. What's up, homie? Do you have a good starting point for the tune for 75mm with the with 702 30,000s on buys? I don't think those 702s are going to survive very long, Doom. The 702s are really just barely big enough for a 65mm motor-to-motor rig on the 1.2-inch props. I have actually cooked a 702 by running it on those small little quad blades. So to put it up onto a 1.6-inch prop, these big bastards, I don't think those 702s are going to survive very long. You're probably going to cook a stator. In terms of a good starting point for a tune, the stock tune is the perfect starting point for tiny whoops, and then the easy button is just to start moving the master multiplier over. And on most clean tiny whoop builds, you can get the master multiplier at least to 1.5, or even some of mine I've saw 1.8, 2.0. But yeah, the stock tune is the perfect starting point. If it's not flying right on the stock tune, there's something wrong. There's something pushing into the AIO. The gyro is shit to bed, or it's a diamond board with not enough capacitance, and you're just doomed. The diamond boards are worthless. So, but yeah, 702s I do not think are gonna like the 1.6-inch props. I think you're gonna cook those motors. Not to mention that 30,000 30,000 kV is way too much for these 1.6 inch bi-blades. This rig is 27,000 kV, 802s on these bi-blades, and it is just absurd. Like I'm considering motor limiting this down from 27,000. 30,000 would just be like completely nutso. Well, on a 702 at 30,000 kV on these bigger props is going to be so overpropped that when you get to like 80% throttle, it's going to stop making more power, and it's just going to be, there's just going to be a dead spot between like 80% and 100%, and it's going to just pull shitloads of amps and not give you more power because it's in that like overpropped scenario. Smallest motor for these 1.6 inch props seems to be an 802. These 603s are maybe almost there, but we're gonna fly these both tonight, and I'll be able to tell a difference because these are both tuned, and I think this is still a little soft. That's basically how I can tell if a motor is a good match with a propeller, is once I've tuned it as far as it can go. If it's still a little sloppy, that means that the motor, for me at least, like I have kind of impossible standards, right? Like I want the tune to be just perfect all the time. I don't want any bounce back. I don't want any prop wash. And in order to do that, the motor has to have enough stator volume and KV to give a quick enough response time where it won't bounce back or prop wash or do any of the other weird behaviors. So yeah, that's sort of where that's coming from. For some people don't care about that, and for them, they can run a smaller, lighter motor. But I want the damn things to fly like a 5-inch freestyle rig, and in order to do that, you got to match up the stator volume and the KV with the weight of the propeller and the dragginess of the propeller. Blah 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 blah. You know all these things. But yeah, the 702s are just barely big enough for these tiny little 65 mil motor to motor 1.2 inch prop 31 millimeter prop builds, and man, are they brilliant on here. This, you know, I'm gonna bitch and moan the whole time I'm flying these 75s tonight. I'm gonna be bitching and moaning about how needlessly heavy they are. These 65s are just, they're just more locked in. They're more of a scalpel. You can hit gaps easier with them. They're much better for inside flying. But I will absolutely admit that I was wrong about outside flying. For outside flying, these 75s are absolutely better. If you want to shoot really small gaps, like jungle gym bashing, these 802 27,000 KVs are the best that I've found, that I've tried a lot. If you want to fly it more like a toothpick outside, less gaps, more covering ground, these Flywoo 1002 23,500s are king. These 603s, they're a little too small, but you guys will get to see that in the air tonight. Good question though, brother. Where the hell was I? There we go. Chase says, would you ever try 75 or 65 millimeter analog build on carbon fiber frame with no ducts? No ducts gives you better airflow with props. I have similar setup for outside. So Chase, you asked me this question somewhere, and I replied earlier today. I've done that before, and I personally just don't understand it. So, like, these little guys with the prop guards, the magic is the side profile and the accuracy. So when you've got a proper tiny whoop, you can shoot gaps like a motherfucker, because when you change directions, it's got this whole side profile to just smash into the wind and allow it to easily change directions. So when you're approaching a gap, every little adjustment that you make actually adjusts the way that the rig kind of moves. These almost drive around like RC cars. They're super accurate. You turn it and it goes in that direction. You turn it and it goes in that direction. When you start to talk about toothpick style rigs, or just when you cut the ducts off of this or run it on a carbon fiber frame, there is no side profile. So as soon as you take the ducts away, the rig is going to slide around more. So when you're trying to line up that really tight gap and you turn it, it's going to just keep sliding, and then it's going to eventually turn in. And what you end up with when you lose the ducts is a rig that's much more slidey, and it's much more difficult to shoot tight gaps, all right? So if you want to fly out in the garden and shoot little tight gaps between flowers and stuff, right? Like if you want to, so I characterize it as like flying small and flying big. These fly small. You fly in between, you know, if you're flying out in the garden, you're going to shoot the gap between two little flowers that are this far apart. If you want to fly big, these things without the prop guards are not big enough, and they don't have enough power to really kind of get the job done. The 3-inch toothpicks, on the other hand, do. Like, basically, a 3-inch toothpick is more efficient with much more power and much more throw in that scenario out front yard, backyard, where you're flying medium or big. If you want to fly small, this is not the tool, but neither is like these little guys without the ducts, right? Like there's that middle ground that supposedly these guys without the ducts do well, but I've not found that to be the case. And I've tried like 5 or 6 different motors. I just find that, yeah, if you want to fly bigger than this, it's this. This does so much of a better job, and it gives you so much more freedom because you can rail this down the street at like 50 miles an hour. These guys with the ducts, without the ducts on them, you can only go down the street at like 20 miles an hour, versus with the ducts on, it'll go 15. Like it's not a big enough difference. Maybe I'm not a good enough pilot, in fairness. Like maybe I'm just not a sensitive enough pilot to really like suss that out. That could absolutely be the case. But yeah, for me, the middle ground that is removing the ducts from these things, what it leaves me with is a rig that slides around too much to shoot the small gaps, but then when I want to cover a distance and go between, you know, my yard and the neighbor's yard, it takes too long because it doesn't have enough power. So this thing does that job much better. And it shoots, it's just as bad at shooting gaps, basically, right? Like these things without the ducts are so bad at shooting gaps that I might as well fly this. This is the same, you know, this can't shoot those tiny little gaps just like these can't. So, but all that being said, I have a pretty unique flight style where I keep the rig very flat. I fly like very cinematic. So when I turn a rig, I turn it very flat, and I rely on the rig being lightweight to change directions. Racers, on the other hand, they use tons of roll because they don't care what their flight footage looks like. So if you use a ton of roll, it kind of doesn't matter because you can just stand the rig up like this and blast the throttle to change direction. So if you're a racer, yeah, maybe those other rigs are better. But yeah, for me, anything smaller than like 3-inch or 2.5-inch, and you know what's interesting is Quad 6.6 has had the exact same experience. Anything smaller than 2.5, and he's kind of uninterested. He was hard on the 3-inch stuff, and he's another like really, really, really good, really experienced micropilot. Lately he's been moving towards 2.5 from 3, which is super interesting. But he's had the same kind of I've talked to him a bunch, and yeah, he's kind of the same mind, where these little guys with the ducts removed, it's just, I don't know, maybe somebody somewhere has like a garden that's absolutely the perfect size for that. I mean, that's why you guys are here, right? Is to, like, I try to talk as much about the theory and like the difference that it makes to change frame size, to change propeller size, ducts versus no ducts, shit like that, right? Because my goal has always been to like educate you guys so much that you can make these, and girls, that you can make these decisions on your own, right? I would rather teach you what these different changes do to the flight characteristics so that you can then build the exact rig for your specific taste the locations that you fly, budget, all the things, right? I do offer that service on Fiverr as well. If you head on over to CiottiFPV.com, hey, this is my full-time job. Patreon helps me out the most, and you got a lot of benefits over there. On Etsy, I've got a bunch of really fun stickers and hardware you can buy to support me. On Fiverr, one of the things that I do with you one-on-one is called build planning, where I ask you a whole bunch of questions like, where do you fly? How big is that spot? How often do you crash? What do you crash into? Who's your favorite pilot? Whole bunch of questions to figure out what the perfect rig for you and specifically you would be. But here on the live stream, I try to just dump information at you guys and hope that you can sort it all out so that you can kind of do the build planning yourself. But, you know, if you guys ever want to do that one-on-one and support me at the same time, Fiverr is the way you can do that. Or just message me and we'll set it up and you can just PayPal me. Teespring, I got a bunch of fun shirts and a bag that you might want. And then look at all these affiliate links. If you're ever doing an order on the internet, think about your content creator friends and see if somebody's got an affiliate link. I've got them to Weebleed, Newbie Drone, FPV Cycle, Amazon, Get FPV, Oh My God, HC0, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Rudder, AliExpress. And there's some other fun stuff down here as well. So yeah, good question, Chase. Love talking about that's the kind of stuff that I really like talking about. I really love talking about like that deeper level of flight characteristics and tuning and stuff like that. So yeah, forgive my long-winded answers to those questions. It's just me being self-serving and talking about what I want to talk about. But I mean, it's also like, it's what's most interesting to me, right? Like what's new in the new version of ELRS isn't really interesting to me. What's interesting to me is like, almost like, it sounds very douchey, but I don't know how else to say it at the moment. Like the art of flying, right? Like there is an art to FPV. There's an art to all things though, right? Like one of the, I have a tendency to get really into shit. Like I don't just do stuff for fun. Like I do stuff to ruin it. Like, I don't just get into a whole bunch of different things and try them for 6 months and then move on to the next. Like, I find something that I really love, and I go hard, and I go into it, like, all the way for years and years and years and years. And when you do that with stuff, you kind of find this, like, meta to it. You find, like, the hobby within the hobby. And one of the words that I find the definition of the word art to be fascinating. Because, like, what is art, right? Like, everybody has a different definition of art. You know, like, in movies, there's a very popular joke in movies where, like, you know, the dumb characters go to an art studio and look around at the canvases that are just, you know, flat, top to bottom red and go, well, this isn't art. What is this garbage, right? That kind of illustrates, like, what is it, right? Like, what the hell is art? And I think there is an element of, I think a part of the definition of art is like effort almost. Like, I don't know, like we just discover the art of things when we get really into something and get really good at, right? That's a part of art, right? Like art is good content. I hate the word content, but yeah, art is good, right? Like somebody that doesn't know how to paint, somebody that's never painted before, that picks up a paintbrush and squiggles it around the thing, like we don't really typically consider that art, right? Because that person's not good. They haven't done the work to get good at it or understand it or whatever. And so, yeah, I like talking about the stuff that like it's taken a long time to kind of figure out and is, you know, almost like FPV 102 if it were a college class, or FPV 103, right? Like, that's the shit that I like talking about. So I appreciate you guys when you guys ask questions like that. Although, sometimes you don't ask questions like that. I just turn the questions that you ask into that conversation. Because, you know, I can have fun here too. It's not all about you! Selfish son of a bitch! That was not directed at anyone in particular. That was just directed at the crowd. 661 says tri-blades. What? What were we talking about, 661? I don't know what that's in reference to, 661. Tag me again and give me some context. Where was I in chat? Man, I'm having a hard time keeping track of chat tonight. 661 also says, okay, I haven't tried the new bi-blade. I haven't tried the new bi-blades you have there. Maybe I need to try them. Wait. I'm confused. I'm confused. Chase says no ducts brings the weight down and gives it the 5-inch feel. It does. It does give it the 5-inch feel. 5 inches are unbelievably slidey because they're very heavy. So yeah, that is for sure. But my problem with it is that it might have the 5-inch feel, but it doesn't have it doesn't cover ground fast enough. They're just boring. That's what it is. When I fly the tiny little rigs with no prop guard, with no ducts on it, I can't shoot the tiny little gaps that I want to shoot. I can't cover enough ground to get in between trees quick enough. So I'm just flying this thing. I'm just like I'm just flying across the front yard. Okay, here's a tree. We can play around with this tree. All right, I'm gonna go over to this mailbox. All right, I'm at the mailbox. I can play with the mailbox. It's just a boring flight experience. 3-inch rigs will get in between those objects infinitely faster, and it's just more fun. And they got a little bit more throw, and they really give you that 5-inch flight experience. But again, if your flying location works and/or your brain enjoys it, don't listen to me. I'm just a gangly, practically homeless donkey on the internet. Christ. Financially, at least. Tuner Taxi says, I like using the MR30 connectors. For what? What the hell's an MR30 connector? And what are you using it for? Oh, the plug and play motor things. You know, I feel like these are kind of valid to use. Like for a long time, it was like, no, don't use those. Your 5-inch rig is gonna be a death trap because they're gonna come unplugged and you're gonna lose it. But I feel like more and more people are actually using these now that Rotor Rides push them so hard. And I feel like they might be fine. I like having LEDs on the arms, and it still terrifies me that like there'd be a prop strike that could potentially unplug one of those things, and then I lose the whole rig and all the footage and whatnot. So I won't be going to those things, but it's really cool that people are. I love that people are. But they're not for me. They scare me. Man, would they be nice for motor testing though? But man, that's a bunch of work soldering a whole bunch of motors up to those XT30 like cup style setups. Like they're kind of a pain in the ass to solder too. I guess they're not that. I guess they're not much. No, yeah, that's harder. That's harder than a race wire. Race wires are simple. Put it flat and just lay the wire down on it, and you're done. Those MR30s, you're gonna have to stand that guy up, and you're gonna have to get the motor wire down into it, and then like it's definitely gonna be more work. Lauren Waters says, I'm new to this hobby. I have a Meteor 65 Pro that is giving me a RX failsafe in Betaflight. Is this usually an easy fix? Typically not. If you didn't change anything in Betaflight and it has started to do that, the receiver on the AIO is probably dead. And that's been the biggest problem that I've had with Betaflight AIOs is the receivers die just at random. They just shit the bed. So yeah, if you changed something in Betaflight and now all of a sudden it's telling you that, then you're fine. You just have to figure out what you changed in Betaflight and change it back. But yeah, RX failsafe, what that means is that basically Betaflight is not getting any communication to the receiver. So if you've changed, so like for example, if that's an ELRS rig and you changed you changed it from ELRS to Crossfire, that would be the problem. That can happen by like you loading up a preset. If you loaded up the wrong preset, it could do that. So yeah, you got some like really basic stuff that you're going to want to check. Well, not really. It's all about like, when did that start happening? If that started happening right out of the box, then it's probably just a settings problem. But like if you crashed into a tree and all of a sudden that started, the tree ate your receiver. The impact from the tree broke whatever chipset is on the board free, and now the receiver is dead. So it's most problems in this hobby, same thing with motorsport, but most problems, like all you have to do is chase it back to when it started, and that's going to tell you what's going on. Did it start from a crash, or did it start from you fucking around in Betaflight in the CLI? So yeah, that's the easiest way to troubleshoot. And then you just have to fight the urge to like not believe yourself, because that's almost always right. Like if you crashed into a tree and all of a sudden a problem starts that's like a digital type of a problem, no matter how many YouTube videos you look up about like the settings changed, like when you crash into a tree, no matter how hard you hit that tree, the ones and zeros are not going to fall out of the quad. Like the ones and zeros are safe in there. The physical chips, they're not safe, right? So like that's, and I'm as guilty as anybody. I've spent hours and hours and hours troubleshooting a rig just to like stop myself and be like, wait a second, when the hell did this start? Oh great, it was when it fail-safed from 100 feet up and fell to the concrete in the middle of the last battery. And then I just said to myself, ooh, this is a good stopping point. Let me just unplug the battery and drive home. So keep that in mind. It'll save you from losing your mind. Duncan Williams says, hey Ciotti, I have two 1S SPI ELRS AIOs and whoops, and I've had issues binding with my TX16X S rather, using ELRS v3 since updating the firmware that supports ELRS v3 on the flight controllers, or binding appears to bind briefly then disconnects. Any ideas? Duncan, unfortunately I am very dumb when it comes to ELRS. Pretty much anytime I have to do anything ELRS related, it explodes in my face, doesn't work right, and I have to sit here watching a Joshua Bardwell video to figure it out. But if we follow the logic from a minute ago, you said, since updating the firmware that supports ELRS v3 on the flight controllers. So the easy fix is to go back. The easy fix is to go back to what it was before. Most of the time you have problems with ELRS, it's a version mismatch issue. There's a different version of ELRS on the quad versus on the module. And this certainly does sound like that. It sounds like there's a version mismatch thing going on. You said that you updated the firmware on the flight controllers. So my guess would be that you also need to update the firmware on your module. But again, I'm super dumb when it comes to ELRS. Like super, super, super dumb. Like embarrassingly dumb. And it happens on these live streams all the time that I'm just sitting here. It won't bind. It won't bind. And then it's fucking set to Crossfire instead of SPI. Like I'm just full tilt. Just dumb 41-year-old donkey. But it sounds like that's your problem. There are some super smart guys in our Discord. There's a link to the Discord on CiottiFPV.com, or you can join my Patreon and get full Discord access. There's also an ELRS Facebook group, and there's an ELRS Discord. Both places that you can definitely get the answers. When you ask the question, though, give way more information than you think anyone would ever need to fix your problem. And then you'll still not have given enough information. Type way more than you typed to me. Just keep adding details about the quad, the version that it came with, the version that you put on it, which module you have, what color it is, how loose was your last shit, just everything. Say it all. And then the person trying to help you will still be like, you didn't tell me if you're on ELRS or Crossfire. Bob Noxious is in the house. What's up, homie? He says, what's up, ganglies? New FPV says, question for you. I'm looking for a micro racing quad and wondered if you had any recommendations. I have a Mobula 6, but can't seem to find anyone that's modded them. Thoughts? Pretty much everybody mods Mobula 6s. So first and foremost, I don't know anything about racing. I'm a freestyle and cinematic pilot through and through. So yeah, racing is just something that I don't enjoy. I don't pay any attention to. That being said, it sounds like if you have a Mobula 6, it sounds like you're looking for a tiny whoop racing quad. So we use the word micro to describe like from 2-inch to 3.5-inch propellers. These little fellas, we typically don't really call micros, even though the name of this live stream is Micro Monday. We typically refer to these as tiny whoops. If you're looking for a tiny whoop racing build, I worked with and talked to a whole... so I work with Joshua and a couple other guys on his website, FPV Know It All, and I actually created the tiny whoop page over here. And the recommendations, and one of these builds on here is the 65mm full tilt tiny whoop race build. Since I don't know shit about racing, I talked to EEDoc and a bunch of the other guys on my Discord that know about tiny whoop racing and came up with this formula, which is pretty close to what a bunch of the top pilots run at the moment for 65mm tiny whoop race rig. So if you're looking for a tiny whoop race build, this is kind of it, man. This is about as good as it gets. If you're looking for a 3-inch or a 2.5-inch race build, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know a single thing about them. If you want to do cinematic or freestyle stuff, I could talk to you all day about it, but racing is just not my deal. I don't enjoy it, and I just don't pay any attention to it. Wow, I'm super behind on chat. All right, I'm going to have to go a little bit faster on chat if we're going to... It's already 11 o'clock. Yeah, all right. I'm going to blast through chat. Awesome questions, as always. But, yeah, I'm going to have to rip through chat if we want to do any flying tonight. Well, let's try this. I'm tempted to try to answer these questions while I'm flying, but it's really, really difficult. Titan says, so would you say that a 3-inch toothpick on 2 to 4S is the best backyard ripper? Absolutely. Well, I mean, I really try to not say things are best. I don't do a very good job at that, but there really is no best. There's just different. Every pilot is going to connect with a different style rig. And then as you get better as a pilot, you're going to connect differently with different rigs. Like the rigs that I thought were the best in my second year of flying are completely different than now 6+ years in the rigs that I think are the best. So like even your own idea of best is going to change. 3-inch toothpick, what it is the closest front yard, backyard, small spot approximation. It's also it is the best approximation of a 5-inch freestyle rig that you can get with something that's completely silent. And it's not completely silent, but it's completely silent. And you can fly in the front and backyard. The actual closest approximation of a 5-inch freestyle rig on something that's 3-inch is something like these ripsqueaks, like a proper 3-inch micro, right? This is not a toothpick. This is a micro. This is like a full-blown, the camera is protected, right? This is the 5-inch frame style, school bus style frame. This is considerably heavier than a toothpick, but this can carry an HD camera all day, every day, and keep it inside the frame protected and you can bash this all day long. You can't bash a toothpick like this. So there's a big difference there. And this weighs like more than double what a toothpick weighs. So yeah, they're just all different. I actually personally don't like toothpicks. A 3-inch toothpick is too light in my opinion. And it can't carry an HD camera without really negatively impacting the performance. So, and my first 2 years of flying, pretty much all I flew was a toothpick before we had the moniker of toothpick. So I really burned it out. I mean, I flew thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of batteries through a toothpick 5 and 6 years ago. And I just got tired of it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that Titan. Doom Rider says, have you tried the Tiny Whoop 802 EX Hex series motors? If so, how do they fare? So the 802 EX lighter weight motors are a little fragile, unfortunately. That was my very first Jungle Gym basher setup. Was Mobula 7 ELRS. There's a bunch of live streams. If you search my channel for Mobula 7 ELRS and you look at the older videos, it'll be that exact setup with a bunch of flight footage inside the house, upstairs, out on jungle gyms. The 802 Hex motors have a 1mm motor shaft, and because of that, they are too fragile for really hard jungle gym bashing or hard flying around the house in a 75mm motor-to-motor rig. Because these are heavier. When you go to a 75mm rig, the weight goes up significantly from these little guys, and basically the 1mm motor shaft is not strong enough, unless you just don't care and you're going to buy a whole bunch of sets of motors and replace them all the time, but that shit annoys me. So yeah, when you go to a 75mm rig, in my opinion, in order to maintain durability, you have to go to a 1.5mm motor shaft, which is why I've chosen these Flywoo 1002 23,500s, and these are the only 802s. I mean, the Mobula 7 ELRS technically comes with an 802 with a 1.5mm motor shaft, but it's only 20,000 kV, which is not enough. These are the only proper 802s with a 1.5mm motor shaft. Unfortunately, these are sold out right now. These are the Tiny Whoop IGOW Special Edition, IGOW Special Edition 802 20,000 kV, which is a ripping kV, with a 1.5mm motor shaft, and these have been nice and durable. So yeah, the 802 Hex motors are great, but you're gonna break them constantly, and they spit magnets out too. That's the main problem with the EX 802 HappyModel motors, is the magnets are not held in well enough. So when you flat bottom crash them, they'll spit magnets out the bottom, on top of the 1mm motor shaft bending. So it's that's why this rig that I built here on these 603s, I don't want to fly this a lot because these 603s have a 1mm motor shaft, and if I crash this thing hard, they're just going to bend up to hell. And I mean, Tiny Whoop motors are cheap, right? Tiny Whoop motors are only $10 a pop, but like I bent like 3 of the 802 motor shafts in one flying session at a jungle gym. So that's like a $30 flying session with a Tiny Whoop. That's stupid. But they do perform really well. The 802 Hex motors perform really, really well. But yeah, wait for these IGOWs with the 1.5mm to come back in stock. This is it. This is the mega build. Aaron says, I feel so seen. Morton Upshot says, I think 661 meant to say he hadn't tried the tri-blades, but said bi-blades. Okay. Get them all. Tiny Whoop props are so cheap, and they make such a big difference in flight characteristics. Just buy them all. Next time you do an order, buy all the Tiny Whoop props. You're gonna love it. They're really fun. And the other cool thing about doing that is that it's the easiest and quickest way for you to try to figure out the difference in flight characteristics between props. I know that you think you know the difference in flight characteristics between props, but like if you really like, there's just been a whole bunch of occasions in my 6+ years where I've been sure that like, yeah, I've when I really dig down and like put the ego aside and be like, hey, maybe I'm wrong about that. I have these moments where I'm like, shit, I thought biblades did this better, but they actually don't. So like, tiny whoop propellers are the easiest, quickest, simplest way for you to swap a bunch of, to go from 2 blades to 3 blades, heavy 2 blades to heavy, light 2 blades, and really try to figure out in your brain like what it looks and feels like when X, Y, or Z propeller is on the rig. It's a really good learning experience if you're willing to admit that you're wrong, is one of the big things to get over. And I have problems with that. So it's a great exercise because it's really important. Used to have problems with that. I'm better than I've ever been with it. But I'll still sometimes have the knee-jerk reaction of like, but I catch it pretty quick. And just because being wrong is great. Like, the only way to learn anything, literally, is to be wrong. So, like, you want to be wrong a lot if you want to learn shit. Like, if you just want to be exactly where you're at now forever, well, then sure, don't learn shit. Be right all the time. But, like, yeah, literally the only way to learn anything is to be wrong, because that's what learning is. It's not knowing something or being wrong about something and then learning. So, yeah. FPV has been a great hobby for that, actually. It's for that like mental exercise. It's hard, man. Ego is real. Nobody likes being wrong, myself included. But it doesn't, like, it's such a light bulb when you realize that nobody cares. Like, unless you're maliciously wrong, and unless you're that guy that won't fucking admit that they're wrong, even when they are wrong, right? We've all had that experience. Yeah, other than that, like, think about it, right? Like, when in your life, when like a friend of yours didn't know something and like you taught them something, didn't that feel good? Let other people have that experience, right? Don't like do that thing where like, oh yeah, I know. Like, if you don't know, like, say like, oh, get interested, and that other person is going to have a great experience of teaching you something and feeling valued here on Earth. And that's what it's all about, yo. Let's lift each other up. Don't know everything. Know nothing. Surround yourself with people that know way more than you, and then you'll be way better because you'll learn a whole bunch. EvaFPV says, a ton of the Atlanta gang are running MR30s now. Really? My God, I'm so out of touch. If I ever build another dedicated freestyle rig, I'll probably use them, but still suspicious about them on the Cine rigs, though. Oh, God, yeah, I could not use them on a cinema rig. That's just too sketchy. Also, hardly ever need to swap motors on them. Yeah, right. Very true. Very true. Although, man, like, to be honest, if the MR30s were bulletproof, which I suspect they might be, I think it might just be everybody, we're all like, ooh, and we're not looking at the data, and we're like, ooh, you mean you want to give me a vaccine? Ooh, I don't know about that. It's going to save my life probably, but there might be fucking microchips in it. Ooh, I don't know. There could be microchips. I think it might be one of those scenarios, you know, where we're all just like, ooh, that seems like it's maybe not a good idea, but then like all of the data is like, yeah, hey, dumbass, look at the data, trust the fucking data. Scientists don't want to trick you. They don't care about you. All they care about is good data. Trust the data. Tuner Taxi says the MR30 cups are horizontal. You still lay the flat to solder to very easily, coming unplugged. They don't with prop strikes, only unplugged when arm breaks. Keeps the ESC from ripping pads. That's interesting. I like that a lot, actually. Man, would that be a lot of work, though, to convert? I mean, I guess you don't have to convert all your rigs to them. You just start building with them. As long as they don't come unplugged, they're better across the board, right? You're out with your cinema rig and you do lose a motor and you got to swap that motor. Oh boy, trying to convince somebody on set that you need to whip out your soldering iron. Ooh boy, they're gonna be fucking you gonna be public enemy number one in a hurry. So yeah, they're actually a really good idea on just absolutely everything. But ooh, Ooh, I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. If nothing else, I don't want this hobby to get any easier. Then what am I going to do? I got to be able to show people how to solder. Doom Rider says, what's CiottiFPV said that needs to happen too? Same firmware, same binding phrases. Looks like you guys are helping Duncan out. Thank you. Eva says, the SPI receivers are a nightmare. I've actually had better luck with the SPI receivers than the UART-based ones. But that's just because I have my little CLI dump that I just drop in with my binding phrase, and then the SPI ones, like, don't even need to be bound. It's just magic. But, yeah, I mean, ELRS is not nearly as bad as it used to be. There's enough YouTube videos on them where you'll figure it out. And to be honest, like, if this is the first time, if ELRS is the first time that somebody getting into this hobby gets frustrated and has to watch 4 hours of videos to figure it out, welcome to FPV. Get fucking used to that. Like, and I've always said that, like, if these if that happens to someone and they decide to quit, that's kind of a good thing, because that's somebody that's not going to survive in the hobby anyway, because so many things are like that. And, like, you might as well get out sooner than later, because you're just going to keep pissing money away. So, yeah, I'm a firm believer that, like, you have to be stubborn enough. If you're going to stay in FPV, you have to be stubborn enough to get through, like, shit like ELRS being a pain in the ass. But, you know, coming to a live stream and asking the question is a brilliant way to troubleshoot that, right? Like, there's a million different ways to get answers. It's a big chunk of FPV initially is figuring that out. How the hell do I get answers to my questions? It used to be RC groups. It used to be a forum. Now it's live streams, Facebook groups. Ugh. Facebook groups are the worst, arguably the worst way of getting answers, unless you find the right Facebook group. I'll say that. Because Facebook groups are filled with people that don't know what the hell they're talking about, but are absolutely desperate to look like they know what they're talking about. So they answer every single question, even when they're ones that they have no fucking concept of the actual answer, but they just answer it to try to look and seem and feel smarter. But I'm not salty about that. I can't even go on. It's a big reason that I just don't go on Facebook anymore. I just don't go on there. When I go on Facebook, there's like a 5-minute period where I'm like, oh, okay. And then 100% of the time between like, and sometimes it's quicker than this, but between like 5 and 10 minutes, a couple posts and a couple of just terrible wrong answers. And I'll use, sometimes less often, but sometimes I'll start to attack people or type the real answer, and then I'm like, nope, I can't do this, and I just close it and come back to it a week later. Duncan Williams says, thanks, Legends, appreciate suggestions and advice, you're certainly welcome. June Logo says, rip the fractal is taken apart. Titan says, great answers as always. Thanks, dude. Eva FPV dropping a crazy looking link. What is that? Webcomic of romance, sarcasm, math, and language. I feel like I've seen this before. All right, I'm going to leave this up. I'm going to look at this after the stream. Kevin Sumner says, thought about MT30. I'm about to swap in the MR30 AOS 5 MT30 to give them a try. Freeload. YouTube did the thing again. Freeloader says, past my bedtime, got to work in the AM. All right, there we go. CBCBR says, if building gets easier, we'll have a bunch of people with no skin in the game. Right, that's exactly it. But I would love building to be easier. I would love all the motors that are sold to have those connectors on them and to just be able to buy motors and plug them in. That'd be great. Let's fly some 75mm whoops. Here comes the pain, friends! I've got a whole bunch of batteries charged, and let's just start the agony. I should have been flying. I should have done the flying on the beginning of the stream, because Maggie is probably in bed by now, and I hate bouncing especially with these big heavy 75s, I hate bouncing them around upstairs while she's still awake. I mean, while she's trying to sleep. I always, although she's told me that she can't hear him, but I think she's just being nice. So here, hold on. Watch the rest of this real quick. I'm gonna go check and see if she's still awake. This is just the rest of that terrible freestyle flying from the beginning of the stream. Oh, yeah, we good. She's still awake. Made her promise to text me if I'm keeping her up. Denzel says she sounds like one of the nicest people ever. You got to keep her there. You have no idea, man. You have no concept of what you've seen from these live streams. You have no idea how amazing she is. It's I don't know. I don't know, man. It's pretty ridiculous. I don't even know. I'm a lucky guy. That's all I can say. All right, here we go. And I'm gonna fly a bunch of these 450 mAh batteries. This is the 0603 build with 26,000 kV motors. 0603 McStinky mount, Newbie Drone BI camera, T-motor F4 AIO, and the GemFan 1.6-inch biblades BT 2.0 on the 450 mAh batteries. And yeah, this is gonna drop arms like crazy, so I'm gonna have to fly it a little bit more gentle than I would prefer. Well, I mean, you'll see it happening. So it mainly does it when you ask it to yaw and roll at the same time. And that is like an aerodynamic situation that tiny whoops have always had problems with. I just flew right into the side of the gate, like it was gonna move instead of me. Hold on, let me. I really backed the tune off to make sure that it wasn't the motors weren't like saturating or anything weird like that, and they're not. And I backed the tune off a little bit farther than I needed to. So yeah, this is the 0603s. They're only a 1mm motor shaft, so I really don't recommend these for a heavy 75mm rig. That being said, the flight characteristics are pretty good. I wish this rig was a little bit lighter. Ah! Easy, easy! But, because these are 603... Oh god, we're falling down the stairs. 603 is in between 702 and 802. Oh god. I think that Papazon chair is in a different spot. That's why I crashed into it. Nope, same spot. Oh boy. No. Don't you dare. Yes. No. Yes. Ha! Yeah, these are really good motors. Woo! Hi! Oh boy. These are great motors, but they have a 1mm motor shaft, so they won't Oh boy, they're not a great fit for these 75 rigs if you're gonna crash hard. There it is. That was it dropping an arm. I asked it. I gave. Oh fuck. I gave full roll and full yaw, and so that's been a problem with Tiny Whoops forever, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the ESC is shitting the bed. It can just be, there it is again. It can just be that the motors are running out of power. You're asking set point to do something that the power system cannot handle, and that's why I'm going to be able to figure out if the AIO is if the AIO is the problem by putting this AIO onto bigger motors. It could that's just me flying like a baboon. Oh, what is happening now? That's fine. Yeah, it could be either. Stare. So you're gonna see a lot of crashes that are basically just based on the weight of this rig being a lot more than what I'm used to, and the quad sliding outwards more than I expect. My brain is dialed in for, oh, you know what I didn't try? Hold on. The one thing I meant to try this afternoon was turning off crash recovery. I'm pretty sure it's not, I'm certain that it's not crash recovery, but it would be insane to not turn that off to make sure that that it's not just crash recovery freaking out. Because what can happen when you push really hard into yaw and roll, you can actually exceed the set point. And when I tuned crash recovery, for like the regular set point. So it could be based on that. So we come into the CLI and we type get crash, and that's going to give you everything with crash recovery in it. Well, look at this. Crash recovery is actually off. So it's definitely not crash recovery. I'm not going to turn it on because you have to tune it a little bit. But it's definitely not crash recovery. So yeah, the arm dropping it's either the motor's running out of power because they're on too big of a propeller, or the AIO is cranked. And we're going to figure that out in a little bit here, but let's fly the rest of this battery. Veritas User says, you're definitely a lucky guy. I am too, because my wife lets me fly drones, but my girlfriend, my mistress, don't want to do anything with quads. Yikes. Pretty good runtime on these motors too, because they're lightweight, just like the 802s. Ah! I'm specifically like trying to not see, so that I can make it drop an arm at any time. I just have to go hard on the, well, it didn't do it there. I just have to go hard on the roll. It didn't do it there. There it is. It's just that big, jerky, uncommanded. Like, for me, it's really obvious because I'm on the sticks, right? So I push the sticks in a direction and I expect a reaction, and it gives me a different reaction, right? Like, you guys have all experienced that. Every single time you've ever had a desync, or there it is, or just an uncommanded anything, like, you notice it, right? The quad disobeys, basically. And with Tiny Whoops, with low-powered Tiny Whoops, you can just do that right there, and it'll do it. I mean, like, it'll do it with rigs right out of the box, where the AIO is completely fine. Oh, that was a bad one. That was a really bad one. And it's a problem, because, like, you just completely lose control. And, yeah. One of the other reasons that I think it might be ESC related is that it tends to happen more often when I do this. Oh boy. When I do this on, so now it's doing it a lot because of the voltage. The voltage is low. It does it less on a fresh battery. But the reason why, one of the reasons why I think it might not be ESC related is that it does it worse even on a fresh battery when I'm digging into the throttle. So when I'm into the throttle and the motors are making a bunch of power and the motors are getting hot, and then I jam a bunch of yaw and roll on, that's when it tends to do it more often there. So the path that leads me down is that these motors are too small. And that's why it used to happen all the time in Tiny Whoops, because we didn't have powertrains that made enough power to keep up with set point, basically. We would have our rates set at an unrealistic value. And when the PID loop can't get there, weird shit happens. When the physical system can't get to set point, weird shit happens. And I have a funny feeling that's what we're running into here. We're going to test that, though. That was the 0603 rig. Now we're going to do the 802. So that was 0603, 26,000 kV motors. Now we're going to go to 802, 27,000 kV motors. And we're going to fly the exact same 400 mAh 1S battery. I'll be really interested. So these are both on McStinky mounts. This is a different camera. This is now a Foxeer Pico Razor Pico, whatever the hell it is. But these are both on McStinky mounts. So same exact amount of up tilt. I definitely like this camera a lot better. Okay. Hi. Easy. Oh, God. There is a definite difference. I thought these rigs would be a little bit more similar. There's a bigger difference than I thought between these two. Let me get this thing upstairs. Oh, come on now. This feels... I mean, it feels like a bigger motor, which it is. But it feels like a lot bigger motor. Which I'm kind of surprised about. Because oh, please don't go in the sink. Oh, Maggie, thank you for... Oh, God, what's happening to this battery? No. Don't make me walk. I don't want to walk. Wow, the battery still feels like it has a ton of power. Why is the... Oh my God, thank God, Maggie. That sink was completely filled with dishes. Hold on. God damn it. God damn it. Yeah, the battery's fine. Why was it... Oh, you know, I bet you the battery was starting to come unplugged. No? This battery fits really loose. This BT 2.0 fits really loose on here. Kind of weird. Maybe this battery is just shot. Did it just flip over? How dare you? Oh, God. Yeah, these motors feel like they have a lot more power. Oh, God. Is that the TV? I hope it's okay. Jesus. Camera's kind of pissed now. Oh, God, easy. No! Yeah, this feels a lot heavier. And also a lot more thrusty. That 602 rig was way more controllable. Man, this camera really struggles in low light. Come on! Again, this battery does not... I don't think this battery is dead. Hold on. Let me hook this battery up to the little checker. Where's the little checker? Ah, there it is. Let me see. Is this battery really that low? 3.91. No, either the BT 2.0 lead on the quad or the BT 2.0 lead on the battery is shot. It's the BT 2.0 lead on that battery. Interesting. This is a Weebleed battery. It's completely fine. Yeah, this thing feels really big and really heavy. Even though it's a little bit lighter. And what that means is it's making a bunch more power than the 603's. D-Max 1.4. And the tune is cranked up too, so it's not like on a loose tune. It almost feels like this rig has more up tilt. And we can test that by looking at the most bottom part. So that's not the right rig. We've got it. We're showing this little bit right on the up tilt, and then if we plug in the rig we were flying a minute ago, let's see where the bottommost point is. Okay, so this actually has more up tilt or less field of view, because you can see down here we can't see that bottom part anymore. Man, these two cameras look way different. This is the BI. All right, BI. And then Foxeer Pico Razor, whatever the hell it's called. I thought these two rigs would be very similar. Jesus Christ! This thing is a fucking monster. I remember last time I was flying this around in here, just being like, good lord. That 603 build is way better behaved than this in here, in small spaces. Unfortunately, with those these motors, these 802 27,000s make a shitload of power. Oh, fuck off. Yeah. These feel crazy compared to those 603s. Man, this camera hates the lighting in this basement. Hold on. Let me turn all the, it hates the difference in light left to right. So now I turned all the lights down here on daylight. Jesus! Daylight bright. Oh, but see, now it just hates... What is the deal with this camera? How little light do I have to give this camera for it to look good? Jesus. Oh my god. I hate these 75mm rigs. Jesus Christ, on a crutch. No! I think I'm just flying like shit tonight too, to be honest. But these heavy-ass rigs do not make the situation any better. Oh, fuck you. I think this camera maybe works really well outside. I don't know. Certainly not enjoying it inside at the moment. Yo, the 1002 rig is gonna be a fucking nightmare in here. Oh my god, I hit. How is it that, like... Never mind. Ah! I was almost starting to maybe get a little bit of flow going there, but... We'll fly. I got a couple 65mm batteries charged. We'll fly that. So I can kind of redeem myself. This is just too much. This is like a fucking racing rig in here because it's just so much power. No, 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 no. Fuck you. Oh boy, I got lucky on that one. Oh, let me see if I can get this rig to drop an arm. Nope. Yeah, no, we are good on this. Yeah, I'm pushing this way harder than I was able to push that other rig. This rig is on a X12. HappyModel X12 AIO. Ooh, Jesus. Oh, on top of the printer. Ah! Oh, come on. How the fuck is it gonna bounce into this goddamn gate? Ugh. Oh, come on. This is way too, I mean, this is... This is way too much power for in here, but it's also way too much weight. Like I could just turn the motor limiting down a little bit, but like I might as well have the power if it's gonna be this fat. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not a throttle resolution problem. It's just this is a rig that I built for jungle gym bashing, not flying around the house. This is not the right rig to fly around the house. It's still got throttle resolution. But for doing freestyle-y shit, it's too heavy. In the house, at least. Outside, this thing is fucking brilliant. Alright, now it's time for absolute pain. Which is going to be the 1002 rig. Prepare for all my belongings to get destroyed. Let's go upstairs with it immediately. Break all Maggie's stuff. I'm the worst. Oh boy. I do not deserve her. This is now the RunCam Nano 3. Oh, you son of a bitch. Who's on wrong? Why are you on wrong? This motor is spinning the wrong direction. Two of the motors are spinning the wrong direction. All right. Why is that? Didn't I fly this? I guess I didn't fly this. I guess I just pieced this together and didn't plug it into betaflight. Let's fix it. When you got motors that are not spinning the right direction, it's a very easy fix. Plug it into USB, plug it into power, fire up betaflight, go into the motors tab, and use the wizard. Come in here, go to motors, hit motor direction. I understand the risks. Wizard, start and spin motors. Whichever motors are spinning the wrong direction, you click. What the fuck? What? Wasn't motor one of the ones that was spinning the wrong direction? Oh, it resets it every time. That's right, it resets it every time. Motor 1 is fine. Motor 2 is wrong. Motor 3 is wrong. Motor 4 is correct. Click stop motors and you're done. Close. Disconnect. And yes, the props are on right. Okay. Unbelievably. Are they? Yeah, they are. There we go. That's better. 1002 rig, RunCam Nano 3. This is also on tri-blades. Oh, a little jello. Look at that. What's that jello from? Let's take a look. Oh, God. Did you go into the garbage can? I think it went into the garbage can. No? Where the hell is it? Oh, here it is. It's right in front of me. This is the rig with the X12, too. I'm going to go into turtle mode, and I'm going to slowly spin each one of these motors up and see if one of them is wobbling. Motor 3 is fine. Motor 1 is fine. 2 is fine. And 4 is fine. That's weird. Why you got jello, little buddy? So the next thing to check is the camera mount, and that's the problem. The camera is very loose in there. So let me fix that real quick here, and then we'll be good to go. I must not have tightened up the camera mount all the way. Okay. Oh yeah, that was very loose. Very, very loose. Just like my ex-wife. He got jokes. He got jokes tonight. He's got jokes tonight. This fucking guy. Alright, that should be better. Let's see! This battery is kind of bouncing around in the battery tray. That could have something to do with it. Come on. Come on! Come on! Much better. This is now the Modula 7 ELRS. This is an actual Modula 7. No, wait. This is a... this is not the X12 board. This is a regular 6 amp board. 6 amp HappyModel board. Where's my OSD? There it is. Not that it really makes any difference, but yeah, this is that board that gives me the core temperature warning all the time. So yeah, this is like next level asinine amount of power. Ah! Oh shit. Oh good. Woo boy. Oh my god, I love that big laid out power loop diagonally across the room. Ugh. These motors perform very different than the smaller motors. Like, I have a lot harder time getting used to these. These perform more like every other motor in FPV. Yeah, see, so when I push, roll, and yaw really hard, this is stick banging, roll, and yaw. This is the most stress you can possibly put on a rig. It's good. I can't believe I hit the fan. Come on now. What are the odds? Oh, what the hell am I doing? All right, let me come back downstairs. I'm making all kinds of horrible noises up here. I was trying to not crash up there. Oh, real? Oh, you fucking motherfucker! It's stuck in the railing. God damn it! Yeah, this thing feels really not at home in here. I really like the way this thing flies. Oh, god damn it, son of a bitch! Stop it! Fuck you, yo! Fuck you, you hear me? Fuck you. Fuck you every day, all day. God damn it. I told you guys. I told you guys pain. These rigs are not good for inside the house, in my opinion. They too fat. Fuck you, so fucking ass. But hey. Oh, you prick bastard. In terms of troubleshooting whether the T-motor AIO is bad, we are going to figure that out for sure in a minute. Because both this and the 802 rig are not dropping an arm at all. No matter what I do. Oh, you... The hover point on this rig is significantly higher, which is why I say that these motors perform more like the rest of our motors in FPV. But I've gotten so used to tiny whoops that the higher... I noticed that when I was flying the 5-inch rig in Florida, it's just crazy. It just feels so foreign to me after having flown so many tiny whoop batteries lately. Eva FPV is requesting a 65 battery. Let's do it. This is pretty close to what a race build is, actually. I did this build so that I could get black box. This has the new betaflight 1S AIO. I don't like this build though. The regular old Mobula 6 build is so much easier, and yeah, I do not recommend this build. But it is nice to have one of these with black box. We can learn a lot from that, so that's why I was willing to do this. But this is not my favorite for freestyle. For racing, you have to do a build like this because you have to have a VTX that outputs an accurate 25 milliwatts, and the HappyModel AIOs do not. But yeah, for freestyle, anything other than hardcore racing, this is not the build. But it flies totally fine, so I'm gonna fly it for a minute. This is on Tiny Whoop 0702 30,000 kV motors. And this is a, what the hell camera is this? This is the Foxeer Pico Razor as well, I think. No, this is Tiny Whoop Pinch Cam. Tiny Whoop Pinch Cam. Jesus Christ. Look at, okay. Here's the difference. In one motion, hold on. Let me get one of these rigs put together. So the most powerful of these rigs feels of these 75 rigs is this 0802 27,000 kV rig. So I'm going to get that ready with a battery. And I'm going to show you the difference between two of these rigs. Ready? Very easy to show you the difference between these. All right, ready? I'm going to show you head to head. Here we go. All right. Versus, like I thought, my brain just went like, wait, what? When I blipped the throttle on that rig just now. Versus this. See how much slower? See how much like less? Like it still has authority, but there's just, and it's more drastic for me because I'm the one pushing the throttle up, but there's an explosiveness to the 65 millimeter rigs that's just absurd, that you just don't get from the 75s, and that right there, like that's what allows you to not crash in a lot of cases. Like it allows you to keep it off the wall or keep it out of the leg. And that, man, I'm like used to flying the 75 rigs now. I'm used to trying to control the slidiness. Ah! Can you guys see it? Oh, really? And that float too. The 65 rigs have a lot more float because of how much heavier they are. Stuff like that, like, God damn you, son of a bitch. Okay, I am flying terrible tonight. I think there's also too many gates in here again. When there's too many gates, there's just too much shit to hit. That's where the beeper comes in handy. When it falls behind shit, you can't really hear where it is. Titan says, do you have a throttle limit on that? I do not. Oh, God damn you. See that little... I shouldn't have disarmed in the first place. Yeah, I've gotten used to the 75s. I've probably flown 50 batteries on 75s over the last couple of days, and I've gotten used to them. I'm like flying into... I'm not like... Yeah. I'm not used to this being so accurate, and like now that I'm flying this again, I'm like, oh God, I remember when I could actually control the damn thing. Come on. It's just when you have less weight like this, like you get to pick. Do you put the nose down and generate a bunch of momentum, or do you not? With a heavy rig, you don't get to pick. Like it always has a bunch of mass, and it's always gonna go charging around. Oh, fucking penis. Woo! I hate you. Oh God! Where did that even go? Oh my God. Where even is it? It's just black. Okay. Yeah, I'm flying awful tonight. Would you recommend the 30,000s? Yeah, for sure. The 30,000s I think are kind of maybe the sweet spot. You're gonna have to motor limit them down. This is like a lot. This is like one of the more challenging rigs. Arguably the most challenging rig I've got. If you're gonna fly it inside, you're gonna have to limit them down. So that was actually a little bit of a desync there, I think. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it was just me being a buffoon. Ah! But yeah, buying a motor that's too high of a KV and then motor limiting it down is a good idea anyway, because there's pretty much no reason not to do that. There's no significant decrease in oh, fuck off. In efficiency in a real-world flight scenario with using the motor limiting. Oh my God. So yeah, there's a 65. There's me flying a 65 pretty badly. That I'm pretty embarrassed about that. That was a shit show. But okay, so let's troubleshoot. It's 11:53. Look at that timing. Let's swap the T-motor guts over into the 1005 frame, and we'll troubleshoot whether or not the T-motor AIO has shit the bed, or are the 603s too small of a motor. This is annoying because I'm gonna just have to switch it all the way back. The 603s are not the problem. I blew up the T-motor AIO. Either the T-motor AIO is no good or I blew it up. But I digress. Let's do this instead. Nah, I can't do that. Yeah, that's the quickest thing to do. I just should have left that one on face cam. Afraid I'll have screws so much as I do my flying indoors. Yeah, flying indoors is hard, man. Very, 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 very hard. Well, you know, no, this is fine. I'm gonna put this over into that frame, And then if this AIO is blown up, then it just gets retired. If magically it works fine, then I don't know what happens. I don't know, man. I'm so confused. I know the AIO is blown up. I don't know why I'm blaming these motors. Like, these motors are not... The frequency with which this thing is dropping arms, it's not a motor problem. I thought I remembered the 802 27,000s dropping an arm every so often. But I pounded the shit out of them just now, and they were completely fine. So I am pretty sure that this AIO is cooked, which hopefully is because I blew it up when the motors were all gummed up on the Fractal 65 build. Because I would like to think that a T-motor Tiny Whoop AIO would be good, but I don't know. I got this from Pyrodrone. I think too much time has passed for me to return it. And I wouldn't necessarily feel right returning it after the gummed up motor situation, so I'm kind of assed out here. I would really rather not spend another $80 on another one of these AIOs. Just because there's a lot, like Sage's, the estimate to fix Sage's car from the most recent accident was $2,500. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna try to just piecemeal it out and replace wheel bearings and axles and whatnot by myself. But yeah. Bob Noxious says, isn't that T-Motor FC have more than a 5 amp ESC on it? Not this one. This is the 5 amp one. Where's the box? Where the hell did the box go? What did I do with the box, yo? Did I eat it? Did I put it in here? I was really, you know what? I'm not gonna buy another one of these T-Motor AIOs because it doesn't have current sensing. I don't know what I did with the box, but yeah, this is the smaller T-Motor AIO, which only has 5 amp FETs. Yeah, I can't. Man, why can't these AIOs just work? Why can't they just work? Titan says, opinion on these for a 65mm 702 29,000 Tiny Whoop Danger onesies with it. Yeah, those are great too, Titan. But you're going to have to motor limit those down as well, and they're the exact same motor. So the 30,000s, if you get really good, will give you a little bit more power down the road that you can maybe use. Otherwise, yeah, they're all kind of the same. Anything north of 28,000 kV, and it's going to be too much power for you until you get really, really, really good. Which is exactly what you want, because you turn on motor limiting, you bring the power down a little bit, and then if at some point you're getting bored, you can up the power. The 30,000s are great because that limit is very, very high. You can just continue to raise the power level more and more and more and more. I did not need to remove that screw. Yeah, this is frustrating. This is frustrating. I changed the high quality build on Joshua's website to use the T-Motor AIO in the fractal frame, and now I'm thinking I'm gonna need to change it back. But I don't know what other AIO to recommend. Like, we want like a high quality build. I'm not gonna recommend a HappyModel AIO for a high quality build. Like, I almost feel like that build should get removed because the highest quality build, the most durable build that I've found. See, I guess that's the difference. There's a difference between high quality and durability. But to me, high quality in the world of FPV means durability more than anything else. Like, I don't care if the board looks like it's a higher quality. I don't care if the components are lined up better if it's not more durable. And the most durable board is the cheap shit little HappyModel F4 ELRS. But that's what the cheap and cheerful build is. So I think maybe the page just needs to get simplified, and the two 65mm freestyle builds need to become one. And this is just the 65mm freestyle build. You buy a fucking Modula 6 ELRS, you swap it to BT 2.0, you put a different set of motors on, and you're done. But that just seems so. That's so boring. It's so boring, but it's so much better than every other build. EvaFPV says, definitely still see if Pyro will replace it or reach out to T-Motor directly. If it means it won't be on J-Bill's, they might be able to send another test. That's true. I was thinking about messaging. I'm not sure who my contact over at T-Motor is anymore. Titan says, how about the durability, since it says Tiny Whoop site not recommended, so on, do I have to worry about it frying my AIO? Nope, the durability is referencing the Rennie screws. Rennie stands for reinforced nylon. Those T-Dog motors come with the regular metal screws, but then they also come with the reinforced nylon screws. It should talk about this in the description. Jesse's usually really good about keeping the descriptions locked in on his site. So check the description. There's probably more info there. But I mean, you don't really need more info. I just told you everything. Yeah, all the 702, every single 702 is exactly the same in terms of durability. They're all made by HappyModel. They're all the exact same motor. If you keep the build light, they are all unbelievably durable. And none of them make enough power to overload any of these ESCs unless you put them on a propeller that they don't want to be on. You should only be running them on 65mm rigs like we talked about earlier. And you should only be running them on bi-blades. As long as you do that, you'll be good to go. And I'm probably going to need to put this into betaflight and change the motor direction because life is pain. Nope, we're just going to run this over top. I remember how I had it now. All right, so T-Motor AIO is going into the 1002 frame, and it's going to drop arms, and then we're going to know for sure that either the AIO is junk or I might have heard it. Hopefully I heard it. But yeah, I'm not paying another $80 for this. The fact that it doesn't have current sensing, it's just so annoying. Like it's really not that big of a deal, I guess, on a Tiny Whoop, but it's just so fucking annoying. Like, just why? What? What is this? Is this real life? Come on. Why? How did that miss the cut? Everybody else, every single AIO has it. And it's not like this AIO has an extra chip on it or some extra functionality that would take up the space that would take up, right? That's kind of what's expected at this point. Like if we're gonna lose functionality, there's got to be a reason for it, and the reason can't be we forgot. It has to be like so with Newbie Drone, right? Like they use a smaller OSD chip, and that allows them to put a higher amp rating MOSFET on the board without oversizing the board, like HappyModel does with the X12. In this case, it's just missing almost as if somebody just forgot. What I think the actual case is, whoever designed this AIO didn't like organize all the bits. Like, designing these AIOs must be a nightmare. They've got to put a shitload of different components on them. So it's in the car world, it's called packaging. You have like an amount of space, and then you've got to fit a ton of shit in that space. My guess is going to be that whoever was designing this AIO for T-Motor, maybe T-Motor designed it, and they haven't designed an AIO before that I've heard of or seen. And yeah, maybe they just were unable to get all of the little components organized in a way that then had enough room for a current sensor. Maybe they just forgot. I doubt that. HappyModel and Newbie Drone, they've been doing this for a while. They've been doing a whole bunch of these. So they've had enough time to figure out how on earth to squeeze all this shit onto a 25.5 by 25.5 AIO. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking there. Hopefully somebody can make sense of my possibly incoherent ramblings. But regardless, it doesn't have a current sensor, which is not the end of the world, but it's just annoying. And all of the other AIOs do have current sensors. And so if this AIO was like bomb-proof, then I could definitely overlook it not having a current sensor. But I didn't abuse it that bad when the motors were gummed up. I was being a little bit careful, but man, it's hard when a motor is blocked. Even if you're careful, it's really hard on the MOSFETs. And these are tiny little 5-amp MOSFETs, and they're known to be kind of fragile. And like T-Motor is not going to use a different MOSFET than anybody else. There's probably only like one 5-amp MOSFET. That's not true, but I'll bet you every single one of these tiny whoop AIOs is using the exact same MOSFETs on them. So like one company being higher quality, that just means that they're going to pay a little bit more attention in the QC process, right? So it's kind of one of those things. All right, this is together. Let's get the motor spinning the right direction, and then I'll jam, roll, and yaw, and it'll arm drop, and we'll know that this T-Motor AIO is shit to bed. Were you guys able to follow me on that rant? Kevin Sumner says, when do you think we're getting RC and Power high KV 0702s? Sooner than later. I don't know exactly when. I'm just not going to say anything. But, yeah, we will get them. Actually, you know, I have no clue when. I would have thought that we would have... Oh, wait, you said RC and Power. I don't know anything about RC and Power. Maybe never. Start and spin motors. Motor 1 is wrong. Motor 2 is wrong. Motor 3 is wrong. Motor 4 is right. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever had 3 wrong and 1 right before. It's kind of weird. All right, here we go. Myth busting. Incoming. Fresh battery. And 1002s. BRX. Transmitter. Goggles.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Arm drops. Let's see. Fuck you. Fuck you. Really? How? How can I get that wrong? I touch the motor. If it's not spinning the right direction, I reverse it. How is it, like, what the fuck? And the props are on correct, because the rig was just flying. Let's do this again. Oh, fuck off, Betaflight. That's going to take a year and a day to launch again. Ooh, it launched quick this time. Yeah. Come on, dude. What? Oh, you piece of shit bastard. Get in there. She wasn't plugged in all the way. Motors! Oh, you jerk. Motors. Motor direction. I understand the risks. Wizard. Start and spin. Motor 1 is now correct. Motor 2 is incorrect. Let me guess. Motor 3 is incorrect and motor 4 is correct. I'm dumb. I'm more like frustrated at my own incompetence, I think. Oh, I am on top chat. God damn it, Jim. Sorry, guys. If I missed your chat comment, it's because I suck at streaming. Titan says, why would you say that the Meteor 65 is the best frame over the Mamiya 6? Weight or durability or both? Both. Wait, no, just durability. The HappyModel frame is lighter, but it's absurdly fragile. Both of mine broke within 2 batteries. All right, so let's give this battery a second to... Oh, God! That made a really odd noise. Hold on. What was that horrible clattering noise? Oh, that was the antenna shooting off to the side. Hold on, let me just tuck this antenna in. It's kind of... I had the antenna zipped. I need to really zip tie the antenna down, but this is just a proof of kind of concept or whatever here. Okay, now it'll be fine. All right, so it seems fine so far. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Interesting. Oh, God, Larry. Stop it. Stop it. Wow, that was pretty hard, and it kept up with me. Wow. Okay. So if it continues to not arm drop, then we've got a beautiful... There it is. There it is. Okay. Yep. There it is. Doesn't do it all the time. But the other rigs were not doing it at all. Ah, shit. Oh, God. Oh, no. Like I said, I'm going to place the blame on myself. I cannot confidently say that the... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. It's just hitting the antenna, I'll bet. Yeah, I can't with any confidence say that the problem is the T-Motor AIO because of the nonsense... What? No, nothing's hitting. What? Maybe it was sitting on the floor in a weird way. That was strange. The T-Motor AIO is bad. But it doesn't have a current sensor. So, I don't know, man. And it's almost as expensive as the... It was. It did it just a little bit there. I'm in my charging case right now. Ah! So yeah, a little bit of muff busting there. I'm flying like a complete madman to try to bring it. There it is. There it is. I was rotating right and it arm dropped to the left. So let me try it the other way. Let me try to rotate left and get it to arm drop to the right. Oh, it did. Look at that. So see, that's really weird. That's really, really, really weird that it's arm dropping on one side then the other. Because basically what that means is that I must have cooked two of the ESC channels. And that's pretty surprising. I mean, all four motors were stuck, so that could totally be the case. But, I mean, let's also talk about how a lot of times, like, this is T-Motor's first foray into AIOs, and a lot of times, the first time you do something, you get it wrong. So between the lack of a current sensor, I don't know, man. I don't know. Should the BLV4? I mean, but then the BLV4. The problem with the BLV4 is the OSD. You know, this. I can see where I'm going with this rig, right? To show you what I'm talking about. So this is like a normal. This is a rig with a normal VTX. It's actually not a VTX problem with Newbie Drone. It's an OSD problem. Newbie Drone uses a custom OSD setup, and the video quality is not as good because of it. And this is what I mean. This is now a Newbie Drone rig. And so when you fly a Newbie Drone AIO, this is the quality of the video that you get. It's just like muddy. And it's kind of dark. And like for a high quality build, this is kind of unacceptable. Although there's other things that are higher quality about the Newbie Drone build, like ELRS diversity and an ELRS T antenna. So like, I mean, I think the long story short is that there is not a high quality Tiny Whoop AIO. I think on our Wednesday call this week, I'm just gonna say to Joshua, hey man, there are no, exactly that, like there are no AIOs that are high quality. So having a high quality build just doesn't really make much sense. We should just have a full tilt racing build and a full tilt freestyle build, and that's it. And the and just we take the cheap and easy build and we switch it over to we just change the name to freestyle build, and that's that. Know what I'm saying? Which is annoying because you know, people like options and whatnot, and I love the idea of having that fractal frame on the high quality build, but no, it sucks, man. It doesn't suck. That's not fair, but it's not better, you know. It's not better. What do you think of that? So yeah, I can't really speak. I guess I was able to kind of talk about the difference in flight quality between the 0603s and the 0802s. Here's what I'll say: if you want a 75mm motor-to-motor rig, I've tried ESC settings all over the place. EVA, every different combination, 24K, 48K, high startup power, low startup power. None of it makes a difference. if you want to fly inside the house with your 75mm rig, the tinywhoop.com 0603 26,000 kV motors are a better choice than the iGao 0802 27,000s. But you shouldn't be flying a 75mm rig in the house. They're not the right tool for that job. These are for flying jungle gyms or flying in your garden and shooting the most awesome little tiny outdoor gaps possible. For indoor work, you want a 65mm rig. It's a night and day difference. It's going to make your life so much better because it just makes it so much easier to fly inside the house. None of these 75s work well in the house, in my opinion. And then if you want, so heads, infinity loops, his reasoning for flying the 75mm rigs in the house rather than the 65s is that he finds the 65s to be too twitchy. That's a 5-second fix. You do a bunch of stick smoothing in Betaflight. You can use, I'll just show you. You can make the changes digitally so that you can adjust them. What he is doing is he's making a mechanical change, flying a heavier rig to get more smoothness and less twitchiness. When instead, you can just come in here and go to the receiver tab, and this RC smoothing auto factor, you just start cranking this up. This is a pretty aggressive RC smoothing auto factor of 100. So if you go up to 100 and the 65mm rigs are still too twitchy, you go to 150 or 200. The other thing you can do is turn down your feed forward, run very low feed forward, and that'll help with the that'll help chill out the twitchiness of the rig. For some reason, I've got this thing. Oh yeah, so this is one of the heavier rigs. So I do actually run feed forward on the heavier rigs to try to get them to be a little bit more reactive, but it doesn't work. They're still just too heavy. So yeah, running low feed forward will also reduce the twitchiness. And then the other thing you can do is to increase your jitter reduction. 8 is pretty aggressive. If you go up to 10 or 12 or 15, that's going to continue to add more and more and more stick smoothing. And you can just dial it in until it's the exact amount of twitchiness that you want. And you'll benefit from the lighter weight of the 65mm rigs and them being more accurate to shoot gaps and whatnot. So, yeah, that's what I recommend. These 75 rigs are awesome at a jungle gym, but they have no business inside the house, in my opinion. Unless you want to have one rig to rule them all. If you want to have one rig to rule them all, you can't afford 2 tiny whoops. I think it might be these 0603s, 0603 26,000s from tinywhoop.com. These are really interesting motors. And this was the most flyable indoors that I think these 75mm rigs have ever been. And this is also, these 603s are also kind of the smallest motor that you can get away with on biblades. And that's a big deal because that means they're going to be the lightest motor you can get away with on 1.6-inch biblades. Make sense? Anybody still with me? Or have I just completely put everybody to sleep? I wanted to direct solder BT 2.0 leads onto these 300 mAh batteries tonight, but we didn't have time, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to shut her down for the night. No, I want to do one more. I'm not going to do one more. I'll fly these batteries tomorrow. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging. Man, it's really weird. It's really weird that it's dropping arms on either side. That's really strange. But I've gone through every single thing in every single digital option to make the situation better, and it won't get better. So there's something mechanically wrong, especially when you factor in that like the tune between all three of these rigs and like all of the settings is all copied and pasted. So this T-Motor AIO has all the same settings as the rigs on Mobula AIOs, and the Mobula AIOs work fine, and these guys don't. So that's kind of like the end of that conversation, you know what I mean? Here's a little bit more bad freestyle flying down in Florida with some epidemic sounds on top. Enjoy, friends. Oh no, this is me flying cinematic, so it's actually not terrible. See if I can find a dreamy song. Oh, the first song is dreamy and laid back. Perfect. Love you guys. Be good. I'll see you Wednesday. Whoop Wednesday. I don't know what we'll do. We'll do things. Later. CiottiFPV.com. Don't let me starve to death. Bye.